Good morning, guys, or good afternoon. Whether you're joining me from the present or the future, welcome back to my FutureFight Vanguard series. Today, we are going to be covering the Silver Thorn deck from Character Booster 2 or Character Booster 3, Rumi Labyrinth Underneath the Moonlight, Under the Moonlight, something like that. Um, so today, we're playing Silver Thorns. Silver Thorns in the past for me have been pretty fun. Back when I played them in BT15, it was a really good deck. Now, not so much because they can't really keep up with like the top decks of the format, but it's still a very fun deck to play. And without further ado, we'll get right into that. Let's unflip all these G units. Alright, so starting off with the main deck, we have the new Silverthorn Dragon Tamer Lukier. So they actually released a new Lukier that is a Strider, which is surprising to me personally, but I was definitely expecting it to be like a new stride support and like keep the limit break grade 3s because having the limit break grade 3s as like a counter to early game rush was kind of like a reason that you would run this deck. But now they made it into a stride deck, which is kind of weird for me. But I don't know. I think that it's really cool. But um, talking about the skills, so it has a skill in the soul that's limit break 4. If you soul blast another card with Silverthorn in its name, at the beginning of your main phase, you can call it to the rearguard circle, and you may have this unit gain 3k power. If you do, then that card goes to your soul at the end of the turn. So basically, you can call it out. You choose if it gets 3k or not. If it does get 3k, then it's kind of like Magia, and it goes back to the soul at the end of the turn. Now, there was actually a Silverthorn player that I played in the most recent tournament I went to. Actually, a tournament around like a couple weeks ago, where it was like a $500 tournament, and I played a Pale Moon player who played Silverthorns, and he actually called this Lukier out from his soul, and I was playing Shadow Paladin in the tournament, so he actually gave it 3k, and it went back to the soul at the end of the turn, and then I literally Diabloed him, and he lost because he didn't have an extra rear guard, so I would definitely choose very wisely when, sorry about that, guys. But yeah, I would definitely choose very wisely when you want to send this back into the soul or not. Also because it works very well with the new starter, Lolette, which will allow you to add a grade 3 back to your hand. So the stride skill is during the turn that your G unit strides with Silverthorn in its name, your Vanguard gets a skill that says when each of your units with Silverthorn are placed from rearguard from the soul, or placed on rearguard from the soul, they get 3,000 power until the end of the turn. So it's pretty cool. Makes all your Silverthorn units that come out from the soul plus 3k for the rest of the turn, which is actually significant in a lot of cases. So, but you guys will see that as we go on further. So we're running 1 of grade 3s. We're running 1 Venus Luke here. Basically just for the cross ride, and if you're against like a weird deck like grade 1 7 Seas Rush or something like that, you can determine like for the situation if you want to go for Venus Lukier or Lukier reverse. So pretty good card. This card, the grade 2, also helps you get to those in the early game. So you don't have to worry about like, oh, like what if you're running 1 of, you never see them, yada yada yada. But we do run 1 Silverthorn Master Dragon. Oh, sorry, I skipped a card. But yeah, we run 1 Lukier reverse, and Venus Lukier kind of fall underneath the same tier. You just choose which one you want to ride. Lukier reverse to me is a little better, unless you have like a trash soul. Then Venus Lukier is better. But Lukier reverse is better to me because it just pluses you for free. So you basically lock a card, you call a card to the rearguard circle. That card gets to stay on the rearguard circle, and then at the end of the turn, your unit unlocks. So you basically just +1 from it. This, however, is plus as well, but it's like I don't know, it's kind of weird, but yeah, it's up to you which one you would like to ride basically. But moving on to Silverthorn Master Dragon, when this unit's placed on Vanguard or Rearguard Circle, you get to look at the top 3 cards of your deck, and you choose um, up to 3 cards with Silverthorn in its name with different grades, put them into your soul, put the rest on the bottom of the deck, and this unit gets 2,000 power for each card put into the soul. So this card reminds me of the card in Dark Irregulars, the Glint. Yeah, so this card reminds me of a Glinzin Vampire or Glinzin. I don't know if that's a name, but Glinzin Vampire, something like that. In Dark Irregular, where they get to Counterblast 1, Soul Blast 1, I believe, and look at the top 5 and add all the cards with darkness into the soul, and then they get like plus 1,000 for every card added or something like that. So it's a pretty cool card. Um, Definitely can make for some pretty good situations with you putting units into your soul. So that's why we run that at 1. We have 2 Lucamia. Basically, Lucamia is a new 11k attacker for Lukier, and it has another ability that says when it hits the Vanguard, you can Soul Blast 1 and choose a Lukier card from your deck and put into your soul. So you can go for this, you can go for this, you can go for this, and then call them out, and then Lolet can return them to the hand if you need them. So pretty good card. We have 4 Acute Dragon, which is basically like the new version of Upright Lion, in my opinion. Except it gains 2k instead of 3k every time something's called out from the soul. So it's basically like the Clown in Harry. Whenever something's placed on the rear guard from your soul, if you have a Vanguard with Lukier in its name, this unit gets plus 2,000 power. So it doesn't give the, unlike the Clown, it doesn't give the Vanguard and the rear guard power. It only gives this rear guard the power. Also, when this card itself is caught out from the soul, it gets 2,000 power. So I guess that's to like supplement the fact that it doesn't stack off of itself. So pretty good card. We have 4 Clements. Clements makes for some pretty good combos in this deck. I didn't like really account for, but Clements is the old 11k attacker for Lukier. Where if the attack hits and you have a Vanguard with Lukier in its name, then you can put it into your soul and call a Silverthorn, or sorry, you get to call any one card not named Clement from your soul. So it doesn't even have to be a Silverthorn, you can just call any card from your soul, which is cool. It allows for a combo where you can hit, call out a Zalma, which is like the Silverthorn's version of Purple Trapezist, stick another card into your soul, and then call another card to have another column to attack with. It's pretty cool. So then we have 2 Silverthorn Upright Lion, the old version of Acute Dragon, basically. Sometimes it's better because you do get 3k from your soul when something's called out from your soul. So that's pretty cool. We have 4 Lydia, pretty standard, the Silverthorn PG. We have 3 Masquerade Bunny because we want to run mostly Silverthorns in our deck. But we also at the same time we do want to Stride, so we do run 3 of those. We run 3 of the new card Saloon. Saloon is a really good card. I didn't like realize it until like later on in my testing. But basically, at the end of the battle that this unit boosted a Vanguard, you can put this unit into your soul and choose a card from your hand and discard it. So basically what you can do from there is you can call like a Zelma and then like make a new attack column. So it's pretty cool. Zelma, probably MVP card of the deck. It's pretty much like Purple Trapezist. You choose another rearguard with Silverthorn in its name, you can shove into the soul, and then you call a Silverthorn card out that is not named Zelma, because unfortunately that would be broken. You would just be able to loop over and over and over and over and over and like make these infinite power, so they don't want that, obviously. But yeah, MVP card, very, very good. It allows you to set up the attack combos and stuff. So we have Lolet, the starter that I've discussed quite a bit. At the end of your turn, if you have a Vanguard with Silverthorn in its name, you can choose this unit and one of your other rearguards with Silverthorn in its name, shove them into the soul, countercharge 1, and choose a grade 3 from your soul and add into your hand. I didn't realize the greatness of this card until later on in testing, like I was saying earlier, but it is a very, very good starter. Like, I like it a lot more than the old one. The old one is still very good though. If you do want to run the old one, it's fine too. So we do have 4 poison jugglers, just in case we want to shove into the soul, give a unit 3k. The Dixie crit for Silverthorns is pretty good. If you have a Vanguard with Lukier in its name, you can put it to the top of the deck, call a Silverthorn card from your soul, and shuffle your deck. So it's a free crit you get to put back. Even though you don't really plus from it, you just break even. You play it to the field, you get a unit back for it returning to the deck, so you're just returning triggers to your deck, pretty good. 4 draw triggers, Natasha, the Silverthorn draw trigger, and 4 Nadia, the Silverthorn heal. Moving on to the G zone, we have 1 Fairfield. So Fairfield, if you guys watch my other Pale Moon decks, you'll like know what this card does, but this card's pretty good. Generation Break 3 allows you to counterblast 2, put a card from your soul and drop zone to the bottom of your deck, meaning you can put back triggers with it. Then you choose a card from your soul, you call it to rearguard, it gets plus 10,000 power and a crit, and it gets an ability that it can activate during the main phase. So you can soul blast 2, and until the end of the turn, the unit chose or the unit that used this ability gets plus 5,000 power, and it cannot be chosen by card effects. Now, being chosen by card effects also includes triggers, guys. So if you want to do that, make sure that it's not a unit that you are trying to add triggers to. So it's mostly useful when you want to use it against like Kagura or something like that that will destroy your unit just for attacking. This way they can't like get their way out of it free or something like that. But I still think that it's better to just not use it unless you're in a really bad situation. We have 4 of the new Silverthorn Dragon Master Venus Lukier. So it's literally Venus Lukier as a stride, which is pretty cool. Look at this girl and then look at this girl. Pretty cool. She also has like a huge dragon behind her in the picture, so that's cool. She has an okay skill, in my opinion. It does allow you to set up for some attack combos with Saloon because it clears a part of your board so that you're not calling over units. But Generation Break 3, when it attacks, you can choose 2 rearguards with Silverthorn in its name, put them into your soul, and then when this unit attacks, it basically just gets a critical for doing that. So it goes critical. The other skill is activation. You can counterblast 1 and flip a copy of itself. And then if you have a heart card with Silverthorn in its name, you can choose a card with Silverthorn from your soul and call it your rearguard. So it's an okay card, not the best, not the worst. You know, could be better. Then we run 3 of the old Silverthorn stride, Silverthorn Dragon Tamer Mystic Lukier. So Mystic Lukier is a really good starting stride. If you have a Vanguard with Lukier in its name, which you always will, because even if you get Master Dragon, don't ride it, guys. Don't do it to yourselves. Like, oh god, it's awful. But yeah, choose 2 of your rearguards, put them into the soul. Then you get to soul charge 2. So you get 2 new options basically to call out cards, and then you can call 2 Silverthorns from your soul. So it allows you to reposition your field, reset up for greatness, so that you're not set up for failure. We have 4 Millward. Even though we rarely ever go into Millward in this deck, it's a good thing to have just cause like sometimes it's very good to put on hit pressure on your opponent when they're at like 4 damage or something. So with Millward, you can Soul Blast 1 and choose a card from your G zone and turn it face up. You probably want to flip Millward with its own skill. Then you get to choose 2 cards from the soul. Call them to rearguard circle. They get 4,000 power, and then until the end of the turn, they get 4,000 power until the end of the turn. And then at the end of the turn, you put them back into the soul, so it's Magia. And then you get to choose the same number of units as the same number of face-up Millwards in your G zone, and they get an on-hit ability that allows them to call a card from your soul to a rearguard that already has something on it. So that's the only part that I don't like about Millward. I wish that it could call to an open rearguard circle. I don't even think that would be broken, but I might be wrong. We run one for our G Guardians. We run one Jester, Demonic Dragon, Wandering Dragon. It's basically when it's placed on Guardian Circle, Soul Charge 1 and choose a card from your soul, call it to Guardian Circle. So if you have some triggers in your soul you want to get out, you could Wandering Dragon, like for example, you could go into Mystic Luke here, then G-Guard during your opponent's turn, Wandering Dragon, get a trigger out of your soul, and then go into Fairfield if you want to, and return a trigger from your soul and your drop zone. So pretty good. We run one Maja. None of our Vanguards have the Magia ability in this deck, so basically all Maja does is Soul Charge 3. It's just a 26k block, like nothing additional. And then we run two Furnivals, basically our bread and butter Pale Moon G Guardian, that allows you to check the top 3 cards of the deck, and then put one card into the soul and put the rest on the bottom, and it gets 5,000 shield. Not a bad PG. Not the best, not the worst. Like a lot of cards in this deck. It's a pretty balanced deck, I would say. But the only problem with balanced decks is that Bushiroad doesn't make everything balanced. So balanced decks get outclassed by unbalanced decks. So, but let's load up the replays. Alright, so our first game is not a mirror match exactly, but it's a mirror match in the fact of that it's Pale Moon versus Pale Moon. My hand's pretty good actually, like I can't complain about my hand. I wish I had a Stride Fodder, but that's neither here nor there. I do guard his first attack because he decides to not pull, or sorry, he can't pull Cat Knight out of his soul. So I do rush him. This is like one of the strengths of Silverthorns basically. I wish I was on a Luke here Vanguard so that Clements could get its full skills and stuff like that, but you know, he does want to pass me, which I don't know why, but I do crit him and he does heal, thank goodness for him, because he was going to be in a really bad situation. But he does call Masquerade Bunny to the back row so that he can search out the Harry that he would like to ride, because the new one's trash. He does use Dark Side Princess's skill to attack me for 14. I guard it, and then I no guard the Vanguard. So I do have one counter boss now, and I do draw the new Lukier to ride into it, like just as I was hoping that I would, which is amazing. But he takes Clement's attack. I do put Clements into the soul, and I decide to call out a grade 1, I believe. Which is awesome because otherwise my rearguard wouldn't have been able to hit. So I do attack for 16, which he does have to guard for a 2 to pass. And then thank goodness for him I don't check a crit there, because that would have been the end of him. But yeah. He does ride in stride. He draws into a heal, which is pretty cool. He calls Cat Knight over Masquerade Bunny, which I don't really see why he done that. He could have just left it, honestly, but you know, because he's basically just going to have an open rearguard circle here the whole time, so you could have called Cat Knight here. It's like really no difference. But I do no guard the Vanguard. He checks a stand, which is unfortunate because he has no rearguards resting that he can abuse that of. But in my personal opinion, he should have attacked with the Amber Clone after he attacked with Darkside Princess again. But he just decided to do it in a weird, awkward order, so I was able to take all of his attacks and not really feel any pressure. So with Magia, he moves all of his cards into the soul. I do draw and stride myself into Mystic Lukier, I believe. Yeah. And then I use Mystic Lukier's skill. I believe so anyways, unless I did something different. Yeah. So I use a Venus Lukier's skill to move these 2 cards into the soul because I want the up red line to stay there to get 3k. Or sorry, to get 6k for when I call out 2 units. So I do call out Acute Dragon, the new version of Upright. And I call out Saloon because I want, so this card gets plus 4k, which is pretty cool. And then it also gets 3k from being called out, so literally it gets 7k, and it can attack 16 by itself, which is already a huge threat. But I do call Zelma and I call out Saloon. I do that just so that these two can get pumped even more. And then Saloon is also 10k because it got called out. So I believe with that, we just attack 18. It might even be better to run some of the stand trigger in here, because I find that a lot of times you have like really big rear guard columns, or like a decent sized rear guard column where if you checked a stand trigger it would be like game changing. But he does PG this here. I don't know why he just doesn't take it knowing that he can't guard the next attack, but you know, it is what it is. I do attack him for 35 with the crit here. He cannot guard, and that is the end of the first game. So we're opening up area once again to see our second game. I should really just keep the thing open in like a little separate chat. I never even thought of that, but it is possible for me to do that. Alright, moving into game 2. We have, I think the same Pale Moon guy came back because he wanted like revenge or something like that. So we are fighting Pale Moon for the second game. Unfortunately, this time we don't get as clean of a hand as we did the first time, and he seems like he gets a cleaner hand. Me just looking at it. So, but we do get to rush him still. So that's nice at least. But it honestly really sucks that we rode Masquerade Bunny, because if we didn't ride Masquerade Bunny, we would have been able to use Leukemia's skill. Or sorry, actually, yeah, we would have been able to use Leukemia's skill to Soul Blast 1 Silver Thorn unit in order to get a grade 3 into our soul. And then we could have possibly called it out. But yeah, we decided to stay on grade 2 and keep rushing him. We do attack him for 9k and then 9k again. He intercepts and then 14. And then he one to passes us again, just like he did the previous game. But this time we don't get it, unfortunately. He does ride the new Harry and call Darkside Princess. I do no guard, the Vanguard. He does check a heal, which is pretty good for him. A heal and a PG. Basically got the live checks. And then he attacks me for 19. So it's looking pretty rough right now. We're having to G-assist. And I just see Master Dragon, so I say screw that. I do not want to go into that card. So I just decide to keep my hand as is. And I believe I played Zelma here. Yeah. Yeah, I moved it into the soul, I moved it out. Then I attacked 14. He did no guard, and I did not check a trigger, unfortunately, so one of my columns just can't attack altogether. But he doesn't run Sabreeze, so we get really lucky right there, and we get to escape that turn with 1 damage. So we do G-assist again, however, and we do get the new Lukier. So we just pop that right onto Vanguard Circle. And then I had a hard time here deciding if I wanted to stride or not, considering like the cards I had to get rid of. But we do get rid of a draw trigger into Clements and Fairfield and one of the Lukiers, Venus Lukiers. And then I do decide to stride because I think worst case scenario, like I just force a lot of cards out of his hand. And we need to basically pressure him because we G-assisted. So I do use Mystic Skill to put 2 cards into the soul. Soul charge 2. And then I call 2 cards out of the soul. 1 Zelma and 1 of the starter. So Acute Dragon gets plus 4k. And then the cards called out get plus 3k. Pretty cool. And then I use Zelma's skill to move a card into the soul, call it out again. Q Dragon gets another plus 2000 power, and then the starter gets plus 3 from being called out. I do attack 11. He does let it hit, which is super surprising to me. So I do get to call out Luke here, and it does get power from being called out. And then I attack him for 14. This is another reason why I was saying stand triggers would be so good in the deck. But we do triple drive and check no triggers, unfortunately. I don't pay attention to the fact that I was supposed to give 3k to my starter after the soul. Also, I was supposed to use the starter skill here to get this grade 3 back to my hand, but I wasn't even thinking about it, and I basically remember this turn very well. Basically, it ends up with me surviving, but barely. I have to use like all the cards in my hand to survive. And so it's like if I would have done that, I would have at least had a grade 3 in my hand to stride and end the game out with, or try to end the game out with, I should say. Yeah, so he attacks for 31. I do PG. I took the first attack because it was really big. I just didn't want to guard it. I even thought about it here, and basically this attack is about to attack us for 26 if he uses Darkside Princess skill. So we need a PG and for him to check literally 0 triggers. That's what we need. So I said PG and I said screw it. He does check 3 non-triggers, so we do live. And then I guard his attack, but then I realized that I didn't use my starter to pop the grade 3 back to my hand, and unfortunately, I think that we could have actually closed out the game because of what his hand is, but we draw a heal trigger, so I was kind of just like, this is really crappy. But I think I just like quit the game after that because I just conceded. Actually, I didn't. Okay, so I just attack him 18 just to see what I would get. I believe that he PGs. Yeah. And then I check 2 non-triggers, and then I really think, okay, now it's over. I kind of think in my head, like, maybe he can't stride next turn. But the official moment when I knew I lost is when he dropped Masquerade Bunny from his hand right here. So he does go into Mephisto, calling out Cat Knight to call out Cutie, calls out Darkside Princess, and then he is using Harry's skill. Yeah, it's a Soul Blast 1, call out Cutie, and then Soul Blast 1, call out another card. Yeah, so he attacks 26. And I say like, sure, I'll G-guard it just because I can no-guard the Vanguard, and if I get a heal, then I can PG the rearguard and hope. And you know what's funny? I still didn't use the starter last turn like I should have. But to be fair, I thought I was gonna die anyways, so you know. It was my fault for giving up the game a little too early. However, he does check a stand here. I do click on his card because the Darkside Princess was supposed to go back into the soul. But yeah, that wasn't a heal, so it didn't matter much anyways. But yeah, that was game 2 of our testing. And then let's load up game 3 here. And we are actually playing against what I assumed at the very beginning to be an Alfred deck. But, oh wait, maybe this isn't the match I'm thinking of. Yeah, we're just playing against an Alfred deck, a regular old Alfred deck. He has attack for 12. I do no guard and I hit a heal, which is kind of bad in the beginning early game. We get like a little mini rush off right here. Attacking for 9. I can't remember if he let me hit or not right here, but I guess we'll find out in a couple seconds. I wasn't really sure why he wasn't moving, so I was like rapidly clicking his Vanguard. Okay, and then I remember because Area has this weird bug where sometimes they keep the power of the rear guard that was last there in your last game. So in a game before he faced me, he I guess like faced something that had 11k there. So he saw my card as 11k even though it was 9k. So even so, it didn't change the number. So even if it was 11k, you know, it wouldn't matter. But I do check nothing, and he checks the Ahmed. Then he rides Ahmed. Yeah. So he rides Ahmed, and then he just chooses to attack me for 14. I do no guard, and he checks Junos. We do get another heal, which we're kind of sad about, but kind of happy about at the same time. It's like mixed feelings because you know that you're gonna like be able to use less G-Gardens in that game. Like we already have 1 heal in our hand, and 2 have been gone through in the damage, and we don't have a way to put them back in this deck, so that's the thing. But we do use the crit to put it back to the soul and then call a card out. And Pride Dragon gets 3k. We do attack for 16 here. He does guard it with a Flogel. We were happy to see that because we do not want Flogel nonsense happening to us. But we do check double crit here. So Rush does pay off pretty well here. However, he does take a heal. So it's kind of just like I checked 1 crit. And then he does take my last damage as well. It would have been really cool if I had him at 5 damage before the next turn, but I don't remember if I get to stride or not, so kind of iffy. He does ride Alfred Oath, and he kind of blasts Soul Blasts and chooses a card from his hand, discards it. I believe that he chooses to discard the oh, yeah, okay, that wasn't what I remember. He discards a Blaster Blade, and then I think he calls a Barkle and a Blaster Blade. Yeah, and then he shuffles, and then he counterblast to use Blaster Blade skill to kill one of my Grade 2s. He kills Upright Line. I'm fine with that. He does try to use Barkle skill, however, to unflip. And I let him know that he cannot use Sparkle's skill because he doesn't have a Blaster Vanguard. A lot of people don't realize that Barkle requires a Blaster Vanguard, which is why I only require playing, like, I only suggest playing that combo, like, very often with the Blaster Blade combo in an actual Blaster deck. But, you know, a lot of people will use it in misplay, and in a tournament, that will matter a lot because you'll have counterblasted 2 already. Maybe not so much when Gancelot comes out. You can afford mini misplays like that, little misplays, but he does stride into Gancelot, Peace Saver, OP Dragon, and I feel like every time that someone goes into this card against me, I get sacked, like hard. I don't know what it is about this man riding this majestic horse, but he always gets me right in the gut with them triggers. So he does use the starter to search for an Alfred Oath, which is pretty cool because he just got Stride Fighter guaranteed for the next turn. He does choose to attack with Gancelot first, countercharging 1 for free and +1 drive for free. Like, this card's so ridiculous. But he does check a heal, going down a damage. Then he checks a draw, like what did I say? and then he draws a Flogel and then checks a draw and then checks a PG. Like, that was just like crazy ridiculous. But he attacks my rear guard. I do G guard it because I want it really bad. I also want to be G break, so that's a thing. And then he just ends up attacking 26 to my Vanguard, which I take. We take those, I should say. But I didn't want to discard a PG here, just to stride. So I just play Clements, because we're not limit break 4, unfortunately. But yeah, he does take the first damage, which allows me to use Clement's Go to move into the soul, and then call out a Zelma. Zelma moves the other card into soul and calls out a card. And I decide to call out Celine back. Acute Dragon gets plus 4k because of this. I do choose to attack Blaster Blade for 14. Because I'm always used to not attacking Blaster Blade, because like usually the person's on Blaster Blade Exceed, and they can just search Blaster Blade, so it feels like it doesn't. It feels like it's not significant to attack Blaster Blade. But for those of you who don't know, this PG is busted, in my opinion. Lien, you literally just get to Soul Blast 1, and if you have an Alfred or a Blaster, it's PG'd for Soul Blast 1. So good, because there's not that many things in this deck that need Soul. So I do try to attack him for 30 with 2 crit. He decides that he doesn't want that, not today. So he goes into Little Sage Marin with no skill, because he doesn't have to use skill because he checked a trigger on his damage tech. So he does stand. And this is like the first time I'm realizing that he does actually run Legion in his deck. So I guess when his deck gets really low, he just Legions with that Alfred Legion and Blaster Blade, which is pretty saucy. I can see the intent behind it. He does do Alfred Holy Saber and use Alfred's skill to counter blast 1, flip a copy, and discard a card. And then he gives that Blaster Blade 3k and Twin Drive. And then I was praying to the gods that I didn't get sacked here, so I was like, no guard. Fortunately for me, this is not the legendary man known as Gancelot, so he checks a triple no trigger. And then I know that that puts me in a good situation, because I can just PG the Blaster Blade attack and be fine, since I have Stride Fighter in my hand. He does check 2, and one of them is that stupid broken PG. But he attacks 16 to my rear guard, and I easily guard that, so. We stride. We think about going to the Venus Lucaire stride, but I believe I just ended up going into Mystic Lucaire, because the whole thing was like I would have had to do the flip skill for Venus Lucaire to make her useful to me, so I'd rather just do this instead. So I do put 2 in the soul. I get to call out Clements and Zelma. Zelma is going to end up moving that to the soul and getting Zaluna, which is pretty good, or Zaloon, I should say. Acute Dragon gets plus 6k because 3 cards were called out of the soul. Then I attack him for 18. And the Blaster guy, I should say, Aichi Sindo checked a crit trigger with his Psyqualia over here. I think most of his damage checks have actually been triggers, which is funny because that's most of his drive checks too. He does let it hit, so I call out the little weak Zalma column, and then he attacks for 33, and all he has to do is Soul Blast with this stupid PG. Like, I feel like I might have actually won the game if he didn't have that PG in his hand. Like, it's really degenerate. But I do attack him for 36. He guards me for 26, 31, 36, 41. Yeah. So he guards me for 41. And it sucks because I just know that if he didn't have that PG, I would have killed him. Because he couldn't guard the Vanguard and Rearguard with the columns being that big. So he goes into the Alfred stride, which is interesting. In this set, like, I'm not Link Joker, so I think it'd just been better to go into a second Alfred Holy Saver. But on the same token, he was not yet able to have a Blaster Blade out on the field. So maybe he thought of going to a second Alfred Holy Saver, and then he just forsake the thought because he realized that he didn't have a Blaster Blade on the field, or a card with Blaster Blade in its name to give the ability. But yeah, I believe he's giving his units the power now from the Reincarnation Dragon. And we are just sitting here waiting for him to attack. I have no idea why area goes so fast sometimes and so slow at other times. It's like ridiculous. But I do no guard him right here because there's no way I can guard 50k and survive, and I thought about it. So, and he checks triple no trigger. So solid for us. We do check a draw trigger, which is amazing for us, and we draw a grade 3. So we guard the other one with a 5k, and then we guard we guard both with a 10k basically. So then we stand and draw, and then I stride into the Venus Lukier stride because we want to do some saucy saloon plays. So we do attack him for 12. That's the first attack of the turn. He chooses a guard with a 5 from his hand. I do attack him for 33 right here. Move those 2 into the soul to give it a crit, so it has 2 crit now. And I just noticed that he has 1 G-Guard in his hand. I didn't know that he had so many grade 3s in his hand. But I guess it makes sense because he never discards them to stride. I think he's been discarding the grade 1 stride fodder. So he was taking a super long time to think about this when he knew that his only choice was the G-Guard. And pretty much going to Isolde or Isolt. So he goes into Isolt, and it's a 25k shield value. So I do triple drive, and I check a crit and put it on the rearguard circle. And then I use Saloon skill to put into the soul and drop a card, and then I get to call a card out from the soul. The card that I choose to call out is Zelma, so I move the other Saloon into soul. And then I'm going to call out a grade 2 Clements. Yeah, it's fine. So Acute Dragon gets plus 4k because 2 more cards were called out from the soul. Yeah, and then I just end up playing this Saloon, I think, from my hand or something like that. Not really sure, I remember. But I do attack him for... yeah, I do attack him with the Rearguard. He just takes it for game. But yeah, that was match 3 of the Silverthorn deck. That concludes the end of our in-depth look at Silverthorn for G Booster Set 3. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Like, comment, subscribe if you liked it. Check out the stuff in the description down below. I'm actually really free this week, so I've been pumping out a lot of videos for those of you who've been wondering why there's been like 2 videos every day or something insane like that. But once my plan is to like catch up on this, and once I'm caught up on this, we'll be on regular schedule again. So enjoy it while you can, because we will be back to regular schedule once I am caught up on everything, because I am pretty behind right now, but on videos. But yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Definitely check out the description down below, Patreon, etc., hoodies, and yeah, you guys have a great day. Bye.